Good morning, everybody. I'm Matt McCauley. It's a pleasure to see everybody again in this setting. It's been a while, and we have a great panel next to us. I'm going to just go through a bit of a roll call for everybody. We will have a Q&A time period. The one thing that was brought up earlier, and in case it comes up in the middle of the discussion, was please do not bring up issues about your own specific case or any specific issues about somebody else's case. If you do want to address the panel and ask a question, if there's a specific question, there's a learned group of folks up here, from the special master to John Field to a couple of lawyers that know a few things about this stuff too, as well as a representative from a workers' compensation here. So please, and I know I'm saying it over and over, but please, it slows things down. If you want to ask a general question that may be a similar situation that you have and pose it that way, that probably will get an answer. I can't guarantee it, but just wanted to sort of put that out there. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great group of people together. We actually do a really hard job here every year to try to get up and provide updates, because even though the September 11th Victims Compensation Fund, thanks to John Field and a whole bunch of other people, but especially John, when it got put back into effect in 2011, we have changes every year. And this is the opportunity to hear from the special master, the special master's team, as well as other folks that have been doing this since the inception of it. Well, I'll start out with the introductions. We have the newly interim special master who stepped in a few months back. He goes by Augie. We have Stephanie Langsom, who is the deputy special master. We have Joe Cavalcante, who is from workers' compensation. I could spend hours on this next one, but you don't even, it's like introducing Muhammad Ali. You just say Muhammad Ali. John Field. And we have Michael Barish, Noah Krislevsky, and with that, we're going to start, because we want to get through this and provide as much information as possible before lunch. So, Special Master.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, everyone. I'm Augie Flengy, the interim Special Master of the Victim Compensation Fund, and along with Deputy Special Master Stephanie Langsom and Nicole Smith, who is in the audience, we are honored to be here and really appreciate the work of Voices. We look forward each year to this opportunity to participate and really reflect and recognize the importance of that. A major goal for us is to get the word out about the fund to anyone who might qualify for it, including communities that might be harder to reach, and we appreciate your efforts in that regard. I was appointed in May as the interim special master to fill the enormous shoes left by Rupa Bhattacharya when she retired in April from the government. This is my first Voices event, and I know that Rupa and Stephanie look forward to it each year. And I'd like to thank Mary for all of the work organizing and for the work honoring those who suffered at 9/11 and who are injured and still suffer today. Thank you, Mary, as well as Stephanie and Leanne and the whole team who puts this amazing event together. I know, even though this is my first year, it's very much a labor of love. I'll start telling you just a bit about myself. I've served as an attorney in the Civil Division of the Justice Department since 1998, initially litigating appeals and then serving as a special counsel to assistant attorney generals who run the Civil Division and handle civil litigation. In that role, I've served as an interim leader for many parts of the Civil Division, and that's what I'm doing now for the VCF while a search for a permanent special master is underway. So the VCF is operated under the auspices of the Civil Division, and in that regard, I've had some contact with the VCF over the last 11 years or so as issues arose, and I helped VCF special masters address them. What I've seen is the critical importance of this program and the critical need for it to operate efficiently and effectively in order to serve those who were harmed by the 9/11 attacks. On a personal level, I grew up in Wichita, Kansas. I have 2 high school kids. My wife's in the audience. After college, I worked for a couple years here in Lower Manhattan in the 1990s. And when I read the stories from our claimants who were caught in the attacks of 9/11 and the heroic responders and the cleanup workers, I think about walking through these streets every day when I work down here And kind of the fortune that my life took a different direction. I got a job with the Justice Department in Washington. And I have an appreciation for the people who have made it safe to work here after the 9/11 attacks, and those people who tragically died and who suffered since then. So that's what I think about when I come to work each day. We should talk about the VCF. Before we get into statistics and other updates, I'm sure you're wondering what's going on with the search for a permanent special master. I don't have a whole lot to report, but I can say the department is actively working to find the right individual for this important role. It's not a position that can be filled just quickly by anyone. It requires the right experience and skills to help lead this into a permanent federal program. It's a senior executive service position and a civil service position, and those require a longer search process and hiring process. So it's well underway. Some of you may have seen that the position was advertised and posted over the summer in an effort to get a wide range of qualified candidates to apply. I can't provide any guarantees, but I know the department is hoping to select a permanent special master by the end of this year. And we'll keep everyone updated as that progress on that.
Can I put my name in?
I thought you would have already.
I figured you guys would have just asked.
For now, my full attention is focused on my duties as the interim special master to ensure that there's no disruption or delay in the important work of the VCF. I can tell you that from the first day I got here, it was clear to me that our whole team is passionate about this program. They care very much and are dedicated to the people we serve, and that is what is most important in keeping things going while we are in this period of transition. It's very important to me to maintain RUPA's goal of making sure that claims are processed and awards are issued in around 12 months, or ideally less than 12 months from the date all information is submitted that allows a decision to be made. In June, we had an important milestone of over $10 billion in awards since the VCF was reauthorized in 2011. And I think in seeing that number and the important work we're continuing to do, where the people at the VCF, our whole team reflects on how important it was to get that 2019 permanent reauthorization enacted. And I thank those in this room who were instrumental in that passage. John. So, in spite of my short time here, I've been touched by the stories of claimants I've reviewed and deeply impressed by the perseverance and resilience of this community. The entire team and I remain committed to ensuring a smooth transition throughout the search for a permanent special master, and as I said, avoiding delays, keeping things moving. It's truly eye-opening to me to see the operation of the VCF is a large and complex operation behind the scenes. And I can assure you, we have great people on this team. They're working hard to keep things smooth during a period of transition. For me personally, in my role as interim special master, I've focused on decreasing the time it takes to render decisions following appeal hearings. And I've set the goal of reducing the time from an appeal hearing to an appeal decision to around 6 months. Our appeal process is a really important opportunity for claimants whose claims have been denied based on paperwork to come tell their story to the VCF as a supplement to their claims. It's a really important part of our operation. And although only a small percentage of our total claimants end up needing to appeal, and that's a good thing, the process takes much longer than it should. Right now, we have returned to our pre-pandemic capacity in scheduling hearings per week, which is great. They're all virtual right now, but we're still averaging around 18 months from the time of appeal package is submitted to the decision on the appeal, and we know that's too long. I'm focused on reducing that time frame, and I hope others on this panel who represent VCF claimants have noticed that appeal decisions are coming a little faster after the hearings are held. I'm going to continue working on that. And while our team has been amazing in shifting to a completely virtual hearing system, We are working on a plan to make in-person hearings available again in the not-so-distant future for claimants who would like that. Before turning this over to Stephanie for stats and some other updates, I want to share what I've come to see as an important challenge for the VCF in carrying out our mission. And that's claims that cannot be decided or must be denied because of insufficient contemporaneous information that is submitted. And to be clear, I'm not talking about claims where there just aren't any documents from 2001. It's a long time ago. Every day it's further in the past. There will always be folks who just don't have documentation. We understand that, and we try to accommodate for that. But claims, what I'm talking about is claims where the claimant or his or her attorney could have sought a union record, a school transcript, an employer document, a tax form, a lease, so some other corroborating documentary proof of presence that is often available, if admittedly sometimes hard to find, and instead submit statements from friends or coworkers that don't contain the specificity we need, or affidavits from people who didn't see the claimant in the zone that unfortunately almost always result in an initial denial. What concerns me is the number of claims we've seen coming through the appeals process where the need for a hearing or further back and forth could have been avoided because contemporaneous documentation turns out to be available and is ultimately provided during the appeal process or in response to a missing information letter. We wish effort had been made to get the applicable document at the time the claim was first submitted. As I just mentioned, while we're working on overall efficiencies, the appeals process especially, and the back and forth of when there's missing information, significantly delays people's claims. That means a person with a serious illness has to wait longer for compensation, and we don't want that. And it also causes our team to touch one person's claim multiple times, and that delays everyone's claim. And in our effort to be more efficient, this is a piece of the problem. So please make the extra effort to have your claimants, if they can, find documents from that era and locate them or work with employers. We really appreciate that to the extent it can be done. It's better for you and our team if we can look at your claim once and have all the material we need to decide and grant the claim. So with that, I'll turn things over to Stephanie, who has updates, and she has been essential during this period of transition. So much appreciate her work for the VCF, and she can give us some updates and stats.
Thanks, Augie. So I am eager to share several exciting, at least to us, updates about the VCF and some of our newest initiatives. But let me start off with a few of our recent statistics. Since we reopened in 2011, we've received over 77,000 claims. And as of August 31st, over 48,000 of those individuals have been found eligible for compensation, with 52%, which is over half, having cancer as one of their eligible conditions. In addition, 3,120 of the eligible claims were for individuals who died as a result of their 9/11 related illness. And we expect both of these numbers to continue to rise in the coming years as they have in the past few years. We've made awards to over 46,000 individuals, totaling $10.3 billion. And we continue to see a very steady stream of claims. In 2022, they came in, new claims, at a rate of about 800 claims per month. So altogether, we have almost 43,000 claims from responders and almost 34,000 from survivors. And as we saw in 2021, and it continued to prove true each month in 2022, we received more claims, new claims from survivors than from responders. So that's a trend that we saw starting last year, and it has held true every month this year. We do post detailed statistics on our progress every month on our website, vcf.gov. Make sure you're going to the .gov website. But we do post our program statistics each month, usually in the first week, and we encourage everyone to keep an eye on them, see how we're doing, and look at that report each month. So now to a few other updates. First, we are very happy to announce what we are calling our VCF Transformation Project, or Transformation for short, which is our plan for ensuring that the VCF is here to operate efficiently and effectively to support claimants and their families through 2090. As I think everyone here knows all too well, prior to the July 2019 permanent authorization, we had limited time and we had limited funding, and every dollar we spent on administrative or operational costs was a dollar that came out of the money available to pay claimants. So as a result, we did not make investments in our claims management system because it just didn't make sense to do so. Now that we're here to take claims until 2090 and our future funding is secured, and again, with thanks to those who made it possible for the Never Forget the Heroes Act to be passed, we're focused on transforming into a long-term program. This includes policy considerations, it includes process changes, but more importantly, it includes a new modern claims system. So we are completely looking at transforming our system and creating what we're calling a guided experience for claimants. At each step in the process, they receive information tailored to their circumstances, they're asked simple questions without complicated forms, they're given guided instructions, they're pointed to what we need and where to find it, there will be self-help tools available, and an understanding of where their claim is in the process and what they need to do next. And our team needs a system that we can easily maintain for the future and that leverages automation and really a more streamlined and efficient claims process. So we've been working over the past year to actually define what we want in this new system. And we've worked with the various Department of Justice offices that handle things like contracts and procurement, and of course, information technology security. And all of this work paid off earlier this year when we purchased the foundational software for this new system, a huge first step in getting there. This isn't going to happen overnight, but we are committed to getting this done in as short a time frame as possible, getting this new system out to claimants, and doing it in a way that is easily understood and will be seamless in terms of transitioning from our current system to our system of the future. So stay tuned for information about transformation. Our entire team is incredibly excited about it and what it's going to bring for our claimants and for our team. We will start to share information publicly. We'll have information on timing. And more importantly, when the time comes, we'll have information on what claimants need to do to be ready for the change. So in addition to transformation, we're also excited to talk about another initiative, which is something we actually announced here last year, and then we hit a couple of hiccups and delays, but we're back on track. And this is all about helping claimants find ways to prove their presence at the site. One of our eligibility requirements is to prove that you were at one of the sites or in the New York City exposure zone at some point between September 11th, 2001 and May 30th, 2002. We know this is the single biggest hurdle to eligibility. The further we get away from 9/11, the more time that passes, people move, they retire, businesses change. This is the biggest issue that we're trying to address right now. And so we are working on what we're calling our interactive presence tool for our website. Our vision is that someone will be able to go to our website, again, www.vcf.gov, go to a presence page, and then be prompted through a series of questions specific to their circumstances. Where were you? Why were you there? If you were there for employment, who was your employer? and basically walk them through to the very specific answer of what document or documents they need to submit to support presence. Excuse me. A lot of talking. The idea is that it will guide them directly to where to get the document, who to call to get the document, and be able to give them that very clear answer based on their circumstances. So we are just now started working, awarded the contract to have some individuals who are experts in website design to begin designing this presence tool. And we are hoping that it will serve as a resource and really sift through all of the other information to help someone know what they need and where to find it. Along those same lines, we've also really ramped up our efforts to work with employers, unions, and other organizations who may be able to come directly to us and provide proof of presence on their employers' or members' behalf. When we do this, it's better and easier for the claimants and for us because we get the information directly from the source. So as a recent example, and this is one that a lot of people really helped us get to this point, we were able to have some conversations with the right individuals at Verizon. Verizon obviously had a lot of employees and others helping at the time, and they now have a VCF proof of presence letter. A claimant can go to them and say, can you please provide the proof of presence letter to the VCF on my behalf? And they will send it, Verizon will send it directly to us. As a second example, we have a similar agreement that we were able to put in place earlier this year with Bank of America, which includes the Merrill Lynch predecessor company. So again, employees at that time who were in offices in the area, there's on our website, they can go to a very specific person at Bank of America and have one of these letters written and sent directly to the VCF in support of their claim. The last thing I want to say about presence is please don't get discouraged. Even if your claim is denied the first time we review it, it's just the first step in our process. It doesn't mean we don't believe you were there. It means we don't have the documents we need to confirm it. It is not a door closing. It's a door opening. Augie just spoke about our appeals process. This is a non-adversarial forum. It's a chance to come talk to us, tell us your story, and supplement your claim through that testimony. You know, we're a government program, and at the end of the day, we have an obligation to abide by our statute and make sure that people meet the eligibility requirements. But we are not here to say no just for the sake of saying no. We pride ourselves on the fact that every member of our team, as Augie said, is passionate about our mission, and that includes helping claimants and working to find ways to get through whatever is keeping them from having their claim determined as eligible. The last update I have for you today is about our outgoing correspondence. We have heard over the years that some of our letters are confusing, they're not clear on what someone needs to do next, they have a lot of legal language in them, and so over the last year or so, we've had several members of our team who really took this to heart and took a look at our letters with an eye towards plain language. They actually called the project Project Clarity because the goal was to make sure that every letter is clear in what it's communicating and what's needed. So we rolled out a number of these changes recently, and I hope that those of you who have received, whether it be a missing information request from us, or an eligibility decision, or an award decision, or any of the other types of letters that we send, that you agree with some of these letters, it's now more clear, and you understand the decision or what's needed and what it is you need to do next. Before I turn it back over to Augie for some closing remarks from us, I do want to ask a favor of everyone here today and everyone who is listening. If you know someone who answers yes, to the question, were you there? Please make sure they know about the VCF. They know about the World Trade Center Health Program. Please make sure they go register. It preserves your right to file a claim in the future. It doesn't waive any legal rights. It doesn't commit you to filing a claim, but at least go register with the VCF. It's very quick. It's very easy. We have cards on every table here with our website and our helpline. You can register by phone. You can register online. Our goal is to make sure every potentially eligible person knows about the VCF and then has the support they need to file their claim. So thank you, and with that, I'll turn it back over to Augie.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. So as we wrap up our presentation, there are two other topics I would like to cover briefly. First is our expedited claims process. This is an absolutely critical part of what we do, which is expediting a claim when the claimant has a terminal illness or is facing a significant financial hardship, such as an eviction, a foreclosure, or a utility cutoff. As I mentioned earlier, it takes around 12 months to decide claims in the normal course. For expedited claims, payment can be made in as little as 3 to 4 weeks. We receive an average of 50 expedite requests each month, and in general, we approve about 50% to 60% of them, so that's around 25 to 30 claims a month. We do have specific criteria that have to be met to be approved for expedited processing, and we require documentation that clearly shows the terminal diagnosis or the basis for the significant financial hardship. As you can imagine, this criteria is critical in order to reserve this process for those who most need it. We know there are many individuals who benefit from getting an award sooner, but not everyone with a cancer diagnosis, for example, meets our expedite criteria. If you have questions about this, we encourage you to contact the helpline, including relating to your individual circumstances. They're an incredible team of people who are very passionate about advocating for claimants. And as Stephanie mentioned, their numbers on the cards on the tables. My final comment is about the potential impact to the VCF of the changes within the World Trade Center Health Program related to the nationwide provider network and the pharmacy benefits management provider. The short update is that VCF policies will not change. We understand and sympathize with the reality that updates in the health program may lead to some delays in certifications, but the VCF requirement remains that an individual needs to have a certified condition, certified by the health program, to receive compensation from us. This is a critical VCF requirement that relies on the recognized expertise of the health program in identifying 9/11 related illnesses. We do have some limited exceptions. Of course, there are always exceptions to any rule. But we have no plans to use the exception process as a way around the delays on certifications that are going on right now. If you are facing extreme circumstances, however, you can always call our helpline to determine if an exception might be made for your particular claim. Hopefully, we will get through this process, and the health program will get through this process and transition quickly. Thank you again for the opportunity to address this group. It's a really important program here and a really important group bringing people together in remembrance. Matt, back to you.
Thank you.
I've been asked to make a quick little announcement. Those that may be in here that want to speak to the OCME, Medical Examiner's Office, that will be held in the Treasury Room at 12:30, so when this concludes. Also, we got a note from John Deary that he wasn't able to make it, but he said to send his regards to everybody.
Thank you.
We've loaded all the questions.
Okay. We have some questions up there already, but before we get to that, Joe Cavalcante is from New York State Workers' Compensation. So you hear a lot about the World Trade Center Health Program. You hear a lot about the Victims' Compensation Fund, which are federal programs. Joe is here as an advocate on behalf of the employee, not the employer, and an ombudsman from the New York State Workers' Compensation Board. It's a very important thing to understand because for a lot of responders, many responders, as you'll hear from Noah and also hear from Michael, most people don't realize they could possibly be eligible for workers' compensation benefits. And as the three of us will tell you, there's instances, as the three of us including, and then the special master can tell you, there may be instances where workers' compensation is your only benefit and that you are not eligible for the federal programs. So I think it's really important with that introduction. I'm not trying to take Joe's wind away from him, but I want to make sure people really do pay attention to what Joe has to say. And some important developments. So Joe, if you want to step up here, or you want to stay there and go through things, it's up to you.
Well, thank you, Matt. For the sake of safety, I'll just stay right here.
Workers' comp, after all.
Precisely.
It's like a dad joke. Okay, no problem.
Matt's introduction was terrific. He pretty much stated about half of what I would wish to say to everyone, which is the following. The people who came here, and I do mean pretty much almost literally here, in the year after September 11, 2001, who performed what we call rescue, recovery, and cleanup, well, those people are probably eligible for a potential workers' compensation benefit should they need it. We're talking about paid employees of employers who would normally be in the workers' comp system, and we are also talking about volunteers. Now, how does one access this benefit? Well, there is usually a 2-year time window to file a workers' comp claim. That deadline, it would have been long since passed, except due to the work of a number of people, some of whom may be on this panel right now, but many, many, many others. A law was passed a number of years ago that says World Trade Center responders can file a workers' comp claim related to their World Trade Center work if they do this one simple thing. If they file this one simple form with my agency, the technical name of it is the WTC-12. It's a front and the back of a piece of paper. You give your name, your address, and on the back you put when you were there, who you were there with, what you did, sign it, notarize it, send it in to us. The very, very, very good news is that yesterday, Governor Kathy Hochul signed some legislation that is now extending the deadline to file that form. Instead of tomorrow, the deadline is now September 11, 2026. So we have another 4 years to file these forms to preserve our rights to file a workers' comp claim should we ever need it. So if you responded to the disaster and you have not filed this form, would you please file this form? If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your family. There's even the other additional benefit of maybe it's a good thing if we know just how many people were there. Maybe it's a good thing if we know just who was there and what agencies, organizations responded. But please file the form to say, preserve your rights to file a claim. Then if you do need a workers' compensation benefit, the medical care, the lost wages, well, you can access it through the comp claim. Even if you are treating at the World Trade Center health programs, please do this. There's the legislation that was signed yesterday also has this one other ancillary benefit, which is that certified World Trade Center illnesses through those programs, well, they can now be used to meet a presumption under our workers' comp law. And if someone in the past 4 years had a claim that, that this presumption was not met, well, due to the new law, now you can come into the system, and if this is you, contact us. I think it's an extremely small number of people that this happened to, but if this is you, contact us. We need to reconsider your claim. We're very, very good at reconsidering claims. So I would say that that's my primary message today. I'm here for questions too. The only other thing I'd like to personally say is if this is you I'm talking to, if you responded, if you came here to help us all out in the year after September 11th, thank you for what you did.
Before we get to John and give John the stage, there is one thing that Joe just brought up, and used the word volunteers. Could you just quickly explain what a volunteer is in the aspect of the eyes of workers' compensation?
Yes, I can. A volunteer is someone who came here and performed rescue and recovery and cleanup and was not compensated. That, I do mean the true literal definition of a volunteer. The World Trade Center response is the only time in the history of New York State wherein volunteers may qualify for a workers' comp benefit. So if you just came here because you felt it was the right thing to do and you needed to do something and to help, this is for you as well. And it's also for people who maybe were working with some organizations in an unpaid capacity, but who were there and who did rescue, recovery, and cleanup.
Okay, so I'm going to play a little bit of a true-false game here with you, Joe, and the answer is true. Somebody who volunteered their time and worked at Nino's handing out food, are they considered, are they covered under the workers' potentially covered under workers' compensation?
Potentially, I would, you are speaking of a restaurant.
Volunteer, somebody who volunteered.
You're speaking of a restaurant that's inside the World Trade Center.
Sorry.
True or false?
Yes, the restaurant. I would encourage that person to file the notice and then, if necessary, go ahead and file a claim.
Iron workers that came down after when they were working, they were off the books and they were just down there. Is that a volunteer?
Yes. God, yes. That's
okay.
much easier.
Somebody who got in their car and drove from Oregon, packed up their car, and came in to help out as well. Are they volunteers?
Yes, unpaid, certainly. That makes them a volunteer.
Ambulance Corps from Westchester, Long Island, and any place else we can think of.
Heck yes.
Volunteer fireman who's a pharmaceutical rep that came in, are they considered to be, are they under the volunteer, as long as they're volunteers?
Heck yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the key, Matt, is that did you come here, did you do the rescue, recovery, cleanup? We don't need to know, like, that's a good example. You're a pharmaceutical salesman, but you came here to help out. You came here to help out, that's the key.
Somebody who worked in a legal office, but then gave up their time to go hand out water outside in this zone down here, and they handed out food and they handed out supplies in other areas.
That's a little too precise an example. Let's just say if you came down here to help out, go ahead and file the notice.
Massage therapist at St. Paul's Chapel.
That's a little
I
too...
was only there once.
That's the next panel.
That example is a little too precise.
Somebody who volunteered their services. They're volunteers. They did not get paid. They don't have a pension system or anything else. They volunteered their services at a location near ground zero.
You need to have performed rescue, recovery, and cleanup.
Okay.
That's why I want to stay away from very precise examples,
Understood.
because I don't make those calls.
I was just going to say, and I want to be clear, all of that true-false game was about workers' comp.
Yes.
You know, so the St. Paul's example, that is, you know, you go to the health program, you get certified for a condition. We see claims from those volunteers all the time. Those are eligible claims. We actually have had some conversations to try and see if there are any records from that time that we might be able to use from St. Paul's, going back to the presence conversation. So just to separate out workers' comp from, you know, for us, it's south of Canal Street, river to river, as I believe it also is for workers' comp. In the zone at any point in time, September 11th to May 30th, and going to the health program, coming to us, volunteer or otherwise. Thousands of those types of claims.
Well, can I give my criteria then? Just sure. That's a great idea. The workers' comp criteria is south of Canal Street, river to river, as stated. Also, the barges, the piers, the morgues.
The Fresh Hills landfill.
And for the workers' comp system, there is no minimum number of hours. We don't use that. And it is for work or activities performed from September 11/01 to September 12/02.
Thank you. So before we get to myself, Michael, and Noah, it's Ali. It's John.
You betcha.
So there's different ways to do this. There's an introduction. Can there be an introduction? Does it need to be an introduction? It's a question up here that I think actually introduces John perfectly, and it actually will bring up a great discussion, I'm sure. And it's John, as one of the principal advocates for the creation of the World Trade Center Health Program and the reopening and the extensions of the September 11th Victims Compensation Fund. What are your thoughts on how the program has matured and where the future lies with that program? It's essentially his entire life work right here. So, John, if you want to step up, I'm going to get out of your way.
I'm comfortable. I'm just here because I lost a bet to Mary and Frank. Let's get serious. The people to the right of me and the people to the left of me and those in suits, you've all benefited from my work. That's fact. And I'm not saying that lightly. Those who did the World Trade Center Health Program thing over there on the other side, they benefited from my work. A lot of people have jobs because of my foundation. A lot of people made a lot of money. But that means nothing to me if the responders and the people of Lower Manhattan do not get into the programs. Everybody that's here today, knowledge is power. You should be getting on your email and your phones and saying, look, you were down there, why don't you get in the program? I know you're not sick, don't be stupid. You got a 60% chance of getting sick. A 60% higher chance of getting sick than the rest of the population. So all of you who are here today that have a VCF claim, that are in the World Trade Center Health Program, kudos to you. Thank you. 18 years, 300 plus trips to DC, 2,500 meetings. A couple of times I almost got arrested. I didn't do it for these people to the left or the right of me. I know they're going to be okay. They put food on the table every night for their families. But many of you struggle. Many of your friends are struggling. And if you don't get in the program, then my work was for nothing. Now, as we're moving forward, the first 20 years decimated the 9/11 community. I don't say that lightly. Too many people died. Too many people will not see tomorrow. But the next 20 years is going to eradicate the 9/11 responder community. It's going to eradicate the 9/11 responder community. We're not going to make it to our average age of 78 years old. Cancer, respiratory, post-traumatic, all of those illnesses are going to take its ugly toll on heroes and volunteers. And it's also going to take its toll on the people of Lower Manhattan who are afraid to come forward because they don't want to take money from heroes or they didn't know that they were entitled to it. If you're not in the program by now, you're living under a rock, and it's a big rock. So all of you here today, reach out. Help us put people in the program. These programs are designed to help everybody, not just a cop or a firefighter, not just a union worker, a tradesman, but those who went to school or lived or went to work in Lower Manhattan. This is simple stuff. Really simple. I'm in the program. I get my medication mailed to me every 3 months. I don't even have to look. I haven't been in a pharmacy in years. That's the beauty of it. So please, reach out to your friends, your coworkers. Somebody might have moved to Florida or Arizona because they retired. Reach out to them. They can get into the national program. Now, are these programs perfect? No. The World Trade Center Health Program makes a lot of mistakes. The VCF, not so much. Hey, Augie, how are you? He's an acting special master. Not afraid.
Interim.
I like to joke when I'm serious because the pain that I see on a daily basis, most of you wouldn't make it through the day. So you all have a responsibility. Everybody wants to be an advocate. Everybody wants to be famous, but they don't want to put in the work. But you can be a friend, and you can be a brother, and you can be a sister. That doesn't take work. That just takes love. Thank you. I'm good. Thank you, everybody. They got to follow that.
This is where you just sort of drop the mic on the floor and walk out. There's sort of a theme to this, and before we get to the questions and answers, I want to fill in the last part of this theme. You've heard from the advocate, you've heard from the federal government, and you've heard from the state of New York. There's three people up here, myself included, whose hearts and souls have been in this work for a very long time. And yes, we're wearing suits. We come from different walks of life. We do different things. Michael Barish and Noah Koslewski have been here since the beginning. They've been in these zones since day one. They're people who have been very much involved in everything that's going on. I'm proud to say that they're friends. I'm proud to know them. I have a different firm. They have two different firms. But we are all here for the same reason, because we believe in these programs. We don't always think that they're perfect. I'm going to say that personally. I don't want to speak for them. We have issues because we advocate for our clients. But most importantly, I do want you to hear that. There's groups of people that are here that have always been here, and you can ask Mary and Frank, including the Deary firm and a few others that are there. You know, you have Motley Rice, some folks that have been here for a very long time. And that's not a pox on other people. But please understand this, that these two gentlemen who I'm going to let introduce themselves right now before we get to the questions and answers are serious about their work. The people in the audience that are here from their firms, from my firm, are serious about their work. And at the end of the day, the one thing you'd never understand is that the three of us actually field questions from each other's clients, talk to them openly about similar issues that are there, and then talk to each other. So this is not an adversarial environment. These are three firms and four with John's firm that very much work for the better good of people, and so do all of their staff members, regardless of who you're with. We face a lot of the same frustrations. So I want to introduce Michael Barish from Barish McGarry, and I want to introduce Noah Koslewski from the Krendler firm, and let them tell you who that they are before we move on to the questions and answers.
Okay. Matt, thank you. First of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you, because he won't tell you, but Matt was one of our team leaders when we were down in Washington following John around, beseeching all the senators and congressmen. Remember on 9/11, if you go to any of their websites, they all posted, "We will never forget," remember? But they did forget. And they were refusing to extend and permanently fund the Victim Compensation Fund and the health program. And Matt, you were the key leader among all of us, so thank you for everything you did. I'd also be.
I got to talk to John all the time, so that was.
I also would be remiss if I didn't thank Rupa Bhattacharya, because for the last 6 years, other than COVID, I believe, she was on this stage, and she brought real significant changes that have improved the lives of so many people in the 9/11 community. The Expedite program is, I don't think you really talked enough about how important that is to families. Look, we can't do anything to stop the devastating effect of these aggressive, rare cancers that are, as you said, John, decimating the 9/11 community. But what the VCF has done by launching this program that Rupa and you, Stephanie, really got going with Jordy, it shows real compassion that you're willing to see, oh, someone is terminal. The effect that this can have, that an early award, that expediting a claim can have for someone who's going to die anyway, but for him or her to know my family's going to be financially okay, it's enormously meaningful. So for that, I mean, that's Rupa's legacy, really, it is. But also getting awards done within 12 to 18 months. There was so many things she did, and this is not a knock at all on my former torts professor at Fordham Law School, because Sheila Birnbaum was wonderful also.
Sheila.
And before that, Ken, who I adore also. But I mean, there are so many people here, you know, as Augie said it, the VCF and the health program, they have a mission. They really want to help. It's not an adversarial situation. I know Jordy would be very happy if I repeated what she always said. You don't need a lawyer. Well, I knew you'd say it anyway, right? But look, a lot of people feel it's well worth it so they don't have to deal with the paperwork. But just, as Augie said, register for the health program. I mean, John said something, and I have to echo this too. The unions, the firefighter unions and the police unions in particular, have done a wonderful job educating their members and their retirees. In fact, over 80% of the responders have enrolled in the health program. What is so frustrating to us who made all these trips to Washington, who take these calls every single day, is that less than 10% of the 300,000 office workers, the 50,000 students and teachers, and the 25,000 downtown residents, less than 10% are enrolled. And I'm delighted to hear what you said, Steph, about how more and more they call them survivors. I hate that term because everybody who's alive is a survivor, whether you're a responder or not. But the civilians, I call them, less than 10% of them have enrolled. And this health program is nationwide. So I think we all have a moral obligation to reach out to our former coworkers, our former fellow students and residents. This is really frustrating. It is harder every single year to prove you are in the exposure zone. I'm thrilled to hear about this program you're launching that's going to help. And I know you've reached out to all of us about getting our contacts at these different companies. And we're all working together to help people be able to prove that they were down here and exposed to these toxins. Please take advantage, spread the word, and get everybody into the health program. Anyway, that's it for me.
Michael. The red light went on 5 minutes ago. I don't have a ton to add to that. I do want to say, I want to piggyback off of one thing that Matt said. Then I want to address Stephanie and Augie for one quick second with a suggestion. It really is a remarkable circumstance that we've been working together for such a long time. And it's amazing that we actually compete with each other for clients, but we send each other's clients back to each other. We talk to each other's clients and tell them their lawyers are doing an excellent job. And I think that's a very rare thing to see in the legal profession. I also think it's very rare to have a group of lawyers on one side working in such a coordinated fashion with a government program, which is designed primarily to help and is not creating undue obstacles to claimants who are trying to get their claims through. But here's the suggestion I have, and I think it's a good one. And if I don't say so, and it addresses a couple of things that you guys talked about. So, proof of presence is and has become the greatest challenge. Again, as you say, every day that goes by is a day further away. One of the things that we do in our office, because we understand we are submitting claims with crappy proof of presence all the time. We know these claims are going to go to a hearing. And we know that the first thing that we have to present at the hearing is all of the steps that we have undertaken to satisfy better proof of presence before going there. And we're doing this, and I'm sure other firms are doing the same thing. Why not have a requirement that the law firm, when submitting a claim, or the client, when submitting a claim, also submits something that explains what they've done? The employer is out of business. We've gone to the successor employer. The records only go back 15 years. The person they were there with has passed away. We did a people search. We do all these things. And it might create a smoother movement to, you know what, let's go right to a hearing versus try to do better, try to do better, try to do better. I don't know if you've considered that, but it's something that we would happily do because it actually benefits our clients to move their claims a little bit more quickly through the process.
So Noah, before you go, I think that's a great question. I think there's actually a little bit of an add-on there that gets into the personal statement as far as having somebody submit a personal statement either about their conditions and adding on even the aspect of their presence.
Go right to a hearing.
I think usually there's some back and forth on that before the hearing process begins, but Stephanie, you have more thoughts on?
So interestingly enough, Noah, several members of our team have raised a similar type of suggestion. So they've raised it in the context of the firm submitting, whether it be a checklist or an attestation of some sort, or just what you described. We went to the union, they didn't have it. We tried this route, they didn't have it. Our only option is truly to go to a hearing. When the suggestion has come up, one of our, hardest things is around how to implement these things in a way that doesn't delay other parts of our process. Because as you know, our system is not as sophisticated, hence the reason for the new one. And these types of changes are not always easy to implement. Not to say we won't evaluate it and look at it. And our team has actually suggested it. The question is how to put it in place in a way that doesn't delay claims.
Gotcha.
And actually helps to speed it up in the manner that you've described.
Okay.
But let me just stick up for the law firms and the VCF for a second, which I don't like doing. The onus is on the individual filing the claim. And no offense, you people out there, some of you are lazy. When people have a problem getting an affidavit, last time I checked, 6 billion people around the world are using Facebook or other social media avenues. We always tell them to go on Facebook, go on my Feel Good Foundation page, and tell your story, because a lot of times they know somebody who knows somebody. And social media, when used right, instead of showing it, what you ate for dinner, it really does help. So you want the law firm to represent you the best way, but you also have to be your own advocate. And a lot of times you put too much onus on the law firm and the VCF. Oh yeah, you were there, great. We believe you. Next case. It just doesn't work like that. So, sorry, go ahead. I'm good.
This actually may dovetail into one of the questions that we have, which has to do, is there any reason why somebody who's healthy should not register for the VCF if they believe they'd qualify as a responder or a survivor? So I'm going to break that down to the VCF, but then I'm going to ask Noah, Michael, and then I'll address it myself as far as what we do for those issues. Is there any reason why you shouldn't register?
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, there's every reason to register, even if you are not sick. If you were there, you should register. It doesn't waive any legal rights. As I said before, it preserves your right. Because if you should become sick, the last thing you want to worry about is registering with the VCF within the time frame that you would need to do so in order to be able to file a claim. So there is absolutely no harm in registering. We don't do anything other than have that information in our system and have it as part of a record. And if you come back and decide to file a claim, you can pick up from there and begin that process. Absolutely register. If you were there, do it online, call our helpline, either way. Very quick and easy.
Noah, how are you handling the folks that are calling you up that thankfully aren't sick?
We register them. We have, it's most of the time that we get a notification of a client that is changing lawyers, it's a client that came to us years ago with no illness or injury, who we encouraged to register and listed ourselves as the lawyer. And we keep in touch with the client once or twice a year. How's everything going? Has anything come up? If something's come up, give us a call. And from time to time, they forget that. And or they just choose to go somewhere else. And so we know we have an appreciation for the success of that internal program. When someone who doesn't have an illness, we get a notification that we're being replaced as their lawyer. Or someone calls us and says, I just got back from the health program, I got certified for a condition. So we do that sort of as a courtesy. I mean, it's also good business because you hope that the client will come back to you eventually. But we encourage every person that calls us, regardless, to register, and we assist them in doing so.
Michael, I'm going to take that question to the next level. When that healthy person contacts you, are you talking to them about presence at that moment, even though hopefully they never get sick?
Absolutely, because I think the theme of today from all of us is every day that goes by, it gets harder and harder to find that proof. I know Rupa always, and you too, Steph, used to say those affidavits are the last thing that we want. The problem is, after 21 years, so many companies are out of business. Big companies. Look at Century 21 down the street. There's 700 employees there. I represent 70 of them. And it's hard for them to get documents proving they were there. How many people kept in touch with people you used to work with 21 years ago? So if you're going to register, go to the VCF website.gov, and you can download one of their affidavits and get a couple or more witnesses, because in 30, 40 years, God forbid, you get sick, that's not when you want to start tracking them down.
Yeah, when we register someone without illness or injury, we send them a packet that includes the proof of presence requirements.
So do we, yeah.
And we encourage them to send it back. We keep it in our file. I'm not sure, I think we had the conversation with VCF folks about submitting that, and they said it was fine if we did. And I think,
to the registration.
I think we do most of the time. We're supposed to be doing that, but we have it. We have it in our files, and I think the one thing, it becomes difficult for us to follow up with clients because there's a lot of them.
Yep.
So we're hoping that they get back to us, and most of them do. So we have files for clients, and we upload it. And very often when we have a client come to us that already has a VCF number, we go into the portal and we get access to the claim, and there's already proof of presence that's in there.
Yep. And
Matt,
I'm sorry.
Can I just add a couple of really quick points
Absolutely.
on that? So first of all, you don't have to make it, when you register, you could choose to hire a lawyer or not. That's up to you. But you can register with the VCF, and if you get to the point where you are going to file a claim, as they've just indicated, you can always add an attorney. There's a way in our process we do that, and it's very easy. It's totally your choice, right? If you choose not to work with an attorney, our helpline is there to help you. I completely agree with everything that's been said about go find those proof of presence documents now. And once you register in our online system, you can upload those documents to have them there in case you need them in the future. Those same documents are often acceptable with the health program as well. So keep copies of everything. You can put it in our system. We're not going to do anything with it until you file a claim, but go get those documents now. And the last thing I'll say is, you are right, we really prefer to have documents from that time, or letters from an employer, or some type of record, or tax return, or a lease, or documents that that are from that time. If your only way to prove presence is to get someone who was with you to fill out a statement on your behalf, we have a witness presence statement form on our website. And the reason we created that form and encourage you to use it is it has all the questions with the level of detail type answers that we need. So often we'll get some of these statements and they don't give us the detail we need, and the witness presence statement form walks your witness through the questions and the level of detail. So I just want to reinforce that.
Yeah, let me stick up for the responder and the civilian now. We're evolving for the worse, the 9/11 community. That's just fact. And the World Trade Center Health Program, more than the VCF, have to evolve with us. So as we get older and we get sicker, these programs have to evolve with us. It's damn near impossible, because in 21 years now, tomorrow's going to be 30 years. You won't be there, you won't be there. You'll be working till you're 140.
Mr. Burns.
But we need to be able to implement things where that affidavit might not be the tell-all that that person was there, where, I hate technology. I type with one finger. There are a lot of people that just don't use a computer, that just aren't that savvy as they get older. Not everybody's 18 years old where you learn it in school now. So you guys have to evolve with the 9/11 community, and more so the World Trade Center Health Program, because when we have to add illnesses, some people can't make it to the doctor. There has to be ways to get these people to the program. This is getting worse. Listen, guys, this is getting worse. This is not getting better. You can go to the program, get treated, get your medications, get diagnosed with this, this, and this. You can get your money, your pain and suffering, your wrongful death, but it's getting worse. I am not here to sugarcoat anything. So while it's getting worse for us, it's up to you over there, you and you, to make it better. It's that simple.
Off topic for a second, but on topic for
No,
the
that was on
conference.
topic.
Nope, I know you were. If anybody wants to go over to the OCME meeting, please go over there right now. Stephanie just asked me to pass that along to everybody. There's a few questions that popped up here that I just want to try to capture, and I'm going to actually move over here for 1 second to address one of them, no offense. So there was a question about whether or not if you have an annual physical, if the health program should, ask you whether you were in Lower Manhattan. If you're in the health program already, that's great, because that means that you qualified. One of these people here probably helped you with it. But the health program has actually expanded how they address the VCF, thanks to VCF stepping in and saying, please tell them about us. And because of a group of people that are sitting right here that kept pushing and needling and pushing and pushing and pushing over and over again to say there needs to be more notice to folks in the health program, that the VCF is, guess what, not part of the health program. So that's a very important thing that somebody brought up just now about making sure the notice is there. You have certainly Voices of 9/11 as well. Sorry, Voices of Resilience, old school, that has also made sure of that. But there's a core group of people that are up here that have done an amazing job to make sure that these programs, are there. Because, not that we want to get deep in the weeds, the state and the federal governments are constrained by certain things, and we try to make sure that everybody knows about things, as John just said right now. We only have 2 minutes left here, and I'm not going to get into what the debates look like about favorite foods, what can't you live without, or anything else, but I think there's a very important question that should be posed to everybody here. And as we end this, is how has working with those in the 9/11 community affected you? And what do you hope to pass on to those who'll be working with them in the future? John, I'm going to let you go first or last, because I think you're last. It's up to you.
I don't even want to answer that shit.
Noah?
How has it affected me? I mean, since...
And what do you hope to pass on to the future?
Well, I'm going to tell you. So they kind of work in tandem. I've been working with victims and families of victims since September 2001. My law firm represented over 450 families who lost someone in the attacks. And the most important thing that I impart to my staff, and it's the first thing I ask about in an interview, is the ability to respond and communicate. The people in need to know that you're there for them, and that you are available to answer questions, and that you're more than a lawyer. You're also sometimes a psychologist or a sociologist. Sure. And that's the one thing that has evolved in my professional career. I'm not really much of a lawyer anymore. I am an advocate. And lawyers are advocates, but I do it within a certain framework. So to me, the most important thing to pass on is that you can have a lot of clients, you can have a lot of cases, and you can be extremely busy, but the most important thing you can do is answer the phone and answer the questions.
Michael?
Echoing something Noah said, I feel like I've become a legal psychiatrist, because it's not just my clients who are depressed and going through anxiety and having problems. The people in my office now have indirect trauma, dealing with people who are suffering so much and need people to listen to them. And it's such a privilege. I think you would agree, all of us, we're so lucky to be given this honor of helping so many people. And we take it personally. I mean, my office was 2 blocks from ground zero. I lost Liana from breast cancer, Dennis from kidney cancer. 5 other people in my office have cancer, including I'm a cancer survivor as well. We were breathing the same toxins. And to just echo again what we said earlier, the non-responders are coming down with the same illnesses. They're dying every day from the same illnesses. And I'm very fortunate to be able to help so many people.
You know, something that Michael just said, I'm sorry to interrupt. You know, we have staffs of a lot of people that work on these claims every day, and a lot of young people. And we actually have instituted a weekly group therapy because it's a lot for people to deal with. Going through something, going through a cancer is a terrible thing, obviously. Being a 25-year-old or 26-year-old person that works with hundreds of people who are sick and dying is also tremendously difficult. So it's really a far-reaching sort of ripple effect. And we recently, you know, a couple of our employees came to us and they said, you know, this is beating the crap out of me. It's hard, it's hard, it's hard. So we started bringing in somebody once a week. And it's had an amazing result in just helping our team to kind of put things in the right place and be better advocates and be more responsive to our clients.
Before I jump over to Joe, since we're carrying the lawyers, myself, I was a 9/11 responder. I'm a retired New York City police officer and a medic, and I was down at Ground Zero. Going forward, the goal is to make sure that people know about this and never stop thinking about it, because it is there. As John said, people who are out there that are sick, that are afraid to get involved with it. I was honored to work with John in DC on things and to make sure that people didn't have that feeling of guilt, because that plagues everybody on this panel, because you see so many people get sick. So, you know, it's one of those things to make sure that your children know, your children make sure that people never forget. You don't have to, you can be humble, you don't have to be humble about it, but make sure that the story continues forward and make sure that the people that you work with know about it. We do the same thing in our office. We make sure that everybody understands that there's a relationship to it. This is not a job you just apply for. And I think you're going to hear that from Joe and Stephanie and Augie about the concept of how they deal with it in their office too. So that's how certainly I feel about it. Make sure people keep talking about it moving forward. And I'm sorry if I see a stare out there, but never mind. I'm going to cover one thing before we get to them. Somebody did ask me a question about law firms, and it has to do with issues with the law firms. I have no idea what the firm is. It's not on here, but if I can make a suggestion, you've got Krendler, Barish McGarry, I'm Turkin, Heath, and McCauley. You can find us very easily. Our names are in there. If you're having an issue, please reach out to one of us. We'll try to work through it. I'm going to speak for the VCF here only because it's in the regulations. You don't need a lawyer to do these claims. And if you want to deal with that from an aspect, I'm sure you can contact the VCF at I have it on speed dial. At the number, go to vcf.gov, and they'll talk to you about how to deal with the lawyer issue.
Or they can call me.
But they can go John Field, yes, I'm sorry.
Or I'll yell at the law firm.
He will. They'll stick a pen in their neck. Okay, now I'm sorry, I have to bounce that question because it's not fair. It's to Joe and then to Stephanie and to Augie about how working with the 9/11 community has affected you and what you hope to pass forward.
This is the most important work I will ever do in my career. No matter what else I do, this is it. So if someone wants some advice or what we'll pass on, it's okay to put yourself into your work. It's okay to care. That's what I think.
I would agree. I had the privilege of working on the first VCF when it opened in 2001 through closing in 2004. Had walked away thinking that I would never again work on any program as meaningful as that, and welcomed the opportunity to come back and work on behalf of this community. It is a mission, it is a passion for our entire team, and we deal with the same things that Michael and Noah were talking about. We offer some support to our team as well. And, you know, I think the one thing that has struck me over the last year in particular is we are always bringing new people onto our team. We're a large team. We have people coming on. And when they start with the VCF, we put them through an almost full day of what we call our VCF overview training. And this is a training that introduces our team members to our history and our team and a bit about our operations and our process. And we start that training every time asking people to say where they were on 9/11. And what we have found in the last year is that the majority of our new staff don't have a recollection of 9/11 because they're new coming out of school and they were so young at the time, they don't remember it. And so part of what we do is look for ways for them to learn about 9/11, whether it be through the personal statements that come in with claims, whether it be through working with people on our team who do remember it, whether it be through activities such as one we had earlier this week where an outside speaker came in and talked about 9/11. But that has been the biggest change for me, is making sure that people don't forget and that they actually learn about it. You know, we shared with our team a lot of resources around the anniversary, the links to some of the programs that the museum offers, and a number of others, all in an effort to make sure that they never forget and that they learn if they didn't already know.
That's great.
You're the new guy on the panel.
I mean, I'm obviously by far the newest to this. I was in that training program just a few months ago. But like seeing the first panel this morning really moved me. Seeing how this group keeps together and looks out for each other, it's really important. And I want VCF to be a part of that too. You know, everyone, as we've said, shares this mission. And something like transformation that Stephanie spoke about is about making it easier for claimants to negotiate this process and eventually get awards. So that's really high on my list, and also outreach. You know, even in my short time doing this job, I tell people what I do, and I talk to someone about, you know, where were you on 9/11, and it turns out they're a potential claimant and they don't know about the VCF. And so it's very clear to me that the outreach needs to continue, and I think it's going to get more important as the years go on.
John, you want to take us out?
Me?
You.
Oh, you know, yesterday I was on Good Morning America, and I said I was going to die doing this. I have no peer. I have nobody to lead this to. But anybody could have did what I did and probably better. I chose to do it before everybody else. But here's what's going to happen. Another 9/11 with a different date is going to happen. And two things happen when there's an horrific event: advocacy and conspiracy. We all chose the advocacy. Some chose the conspiracy, and they're home with tinfoil around their head and a diaper in the basement. We're actually helping people. Passing 16 pieces of legislation, donating millions of dollars means nothing to me. Sure, I know I help the masses, but it's the friendships that mean more to me, and knowing that my friends are helping other people is the fulfillment that I seek. So there's a chance in a lifetime to help others, and when we stop labeling each other black, white, Republican, Democrat, or you're an American, before you're all of that, you're a human being. Doesn't matter, man, woman, Muslim, Jewish, Catholic, we got to stop labeling each other. And when you become a human being and look at the person across you who needs help, then you're a good human being.
Guys, to end on that note, thank you, Mary and Frank, for hosting this every year and putting this together. We appreciate you.
Thank you.